Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the NWA Powerrr Recap and Review Show right here on the MrWarrenHayes Show. I am, of course, MrWarrenHayes, and I haven't done one of these in a while. There wasn't much to do for a while because NWA hasn't been really giving us some meaty programming to get into. But they were back this week, brought us the Super Powerrr Supercard that they had prepared, and we watched this tonight, and I'm going to talk about it right here for everyone, right here on youtube.com on slash MrWarrenHayes, on your favorite podcast app as well. But you know what? I record these live immediately after NWA Powerrr every Tuesday evening, and I do the live recording for my patrons, everyone who supports the show over at patreon.com slash MrWarrenHayes. So basically, you get the live recording, you get the full show a day before everyone else gets there, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. You should head on over to patreon.com slash MrWarrenHayes and check it out if you want to support. And if you're already watching this live right now, thank you. Thank you very much for your support. You're here live. Like J.S. Brown is here, just hanging out. How you doing? And you know what? It's always a good time, and it's good, and I appreciate all the support from our patrons. But I also appreciate having some NWA action back in the ring. So here's the thing: there were some people reaching out to me as I was tweeting out some stuff, my appreciation of the show, and so on and so forth. People were like, "This is kind of weird, Warren. When did this happen? Because there's a live audience right now, a full live audience." Oh yeah, this is stuff that was recorded, if I'm not mistaken, back in February. This was in the lead up. This was in the lead up to the Crockett Cup, and or was it March? It was either February or March. I'm pretty sure it was like the end of February or maybe early March. I could be wrong. And then shortly thereafter, everything started shutting down. So NWA apparently decided to, instead of going through the stuff that they already had canned, decided to hang on to it a little bit, probably in case they could get back to live crowds sooner than later, and then maybe plan a few live shows leading into the Crockett Cup, but clearly couldn't quite get it done because of, well, we all know why at this point. Otherwise, this show tonight, Super Powerrr, was the Supercard lead in to the Crockett Cup pay-per-view. So if I'm not mistaken, this might have actually been the go-home show to the Crockett Cup. So this is what we got tonight. So there were a few things throughout the show that were set up clearly to establish matches and events that were going to happen at the Crockett Cup that we're not going to see necessarily. I don't think so. You never know, right? You never know. But yeah, this is where we're at right now in regards to NWA. So we finally got it. We got ourselves our super card that opened up with William Patrick Corgan, owner of the NWA, president of the NWA, owner and president of the NWA, basically thanking us for showing up and telling us that he's got big news, but he's going to keep it to the end of the show because he wants us to stick around. We get Marty, Scurll, and Brody King going up to chat with Dave Marquez, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get this one off. I'll get this one out straight off the bat. It was interesting and nice to see some new wrestling, for sure. I miss the NWA, admittedly, moving forward, but especially seeing some new wrestling with a live crowd. Wouldn't say we've got used to empty arenas, but we've kind of. I feel like after tonight, I've remembered what makes a live crowd so special, considering over the past few weeks how bleak everything is. Not bleak. Bleak's the wrong word. How empty everything feels, right? You know there's a component missing. You know that you know that a live crowd contributes so much to a wrestling show. We had a great example here tonight because, man, the NWA crowd they have in Georgia, it is nuts. So Scurll and Brody King go to chat with Dave Marquez. Scurll says, when you mess with the villain, you mess with all of Villain Enterprises. That's why he has Brody King, because as you recall, Marty Scurll showed up to NWA and basically still being a part of Ring of Honor, of course. And as you know, lots of things have happened. Marty Scurll is on top of the creative element over there at Ring of Honor. You see, he's in a booking position. But he had already started like this invasion of the NWA. Aldis has the numbers game, so Scurll is like, yeah, I'm gonna bring in my fellas too. Brody King is not a bad guy to bring in if you need a heater. Brody King introduces himself and calls Scurll a genius. He said, I'm gonna tell you, someone wants to keep his spot in Ring of Honor, right? You gotta butter up the booker. King says Villain Enterprises is a part of the NWA. It's always been a part of the NWA, reminding that they already won, that Villain Enterprises won the Crockett Cup. It was actually him and PCO who did it, as well as being the first NWA tag team champions of the modern era as well. And he says, Aldis' time with the title is coming to an end, because Marty Scurll is going to take it. They do an extended recap of all the Kamille won't talk stuff, because tonight she is supposed to talk. Not only is she supposed to talk, but she's supposed to have her debut. Now, so she does have her debut match against Maddie Max. This is the same match that was put on their YouTube channel. Was it last week, I think? That was like a standalone, or the week before. So if you saw that match on their YouTube channel, well, you know exactly what happened here. However, I hadn't had a chance to talk about it, so let's talk about it. Maddie Max wants to shake hands with Kamille to start off, but instead she gets run into the corner by Kamille, who follows up with some vicious stops. Maddie Max gets tossed around a lot, avalanched in the corner. Kamille hits a power slam. Max tries to fight back, but Kamille leg lariats her. She catches Maddie Max off the top rope, hits the steamroller and the spear for the win. Throwback, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. I gotta tell you guys, we have to take a moment. We can also take a moment. I have no idea what a moment is, but we can take a moment here as well. How great has NWA been booking Kamille from the get-go, from the start, from the very onset? Nick Aldis's heat, standing there, looking menacing, threatening. Like she's a tall lady, well built, super strong. She's very, very credible. And look at what they do here tonight. They put her in a match with Maddie Max, and she blows through her. She ends up looking like $1 million. You look at her go tonight and you're like, you know what? I want to see more of Kamille. Clearly, this is what they want. They want Kamille to be a star. They want her to be perceived as a strong contender. This is what you do. Now, I'm not going to dig up specific cases, but I have been called out regarding my opinion a few times in regards to another company who puts their stars, or at least wrestlers that were supposed to buy into being big stars, puts them in enhancement matches, and they have very competitive matches with said enhancement talent. And when I point this out, and when I say X wrestler should be steamrolling, Y wrestler should be making a statement instead of having competitive matches, the response I get to that is, well, at least the enhancement talent had a time to shine. I mean, it's good, elevates them. And there's no point in elevating enhancement talent when you are trying to build a star. You should be elevating your stars. You should be elevating the people that you want to be on top of your company. You want for us as an audience to understand who I should get behind, /fear, /like, /hate. That's what these matches are for. Maddie Max, God bless her heart, this wasn't her time to shine. This was Kamille's time to shine. And this match is over now. It's done. So not only did I see in a previous match, in a previous altercation, not only did I see Kamille spear former NWA women's world champion Allison Kay, but I saw her demolish a nobody. So what does that say to me? Kamille's a badass. And Maddie Max will come back at some point, and at some point she will have a lovely match where she'll be able to have her time to shine, I'm sure. But that was not the point. And this is what bugs me sometimes when certain apologists for certain promotions pop up to try and convince me that it is a good thing that enhancement talent get a time to shine. Not when you're building stars, and especially when your top guys or gals in your company are fighting them. I can't. I'm sure that the talent, that the bigger talent is very, very generous in allowing the smaller time talent to have a moment to shine, and I appreciate that. And I don't have to say, I can't say anything against that. I understand the motivation, the generosity, the good graces that go with that, and it's very, very big of them, because I remember a time in wrestling where that kind of stuff would have never happened, right? Where a top guy would never ever give an undercard person or a jobber any light of day. So this was good, right? So it's still a good move. But as far as storytelling, as far as building your stars, it's questionable, highly questionable. You look at Kamille tonight, you knew there was no way she was going to lose to Maddie Max, and not only did she not lose, she didn't lose with authority. Kamille is officially a star, and she has been so wonderfully booked by NWA right up until this point. It is absolutely fantastic. Again, NWA doing good by their women. They really, they've had us focus on a few of their women, and they've been putting them over good and proper. Good on them. Then we actually have Joe Golly tries to get a comment from Kamille when she refuses to talk, but then we get a taped promo, or a segment, I guess. It's more than a promo, with Kamille. Or she's talking about herself here. She says, "Bitch, cocky, not approachable. People have said that about me. This is what people say about me." Some of it's true. It's true. Because essentially she says, she goes through her athletic past and how she's always excelled at sports and athletic competitions, and that it's always intimidated people. And because of that, she learned that people don't like you when you're gifted. She talks about how big her accomplishments were and how people have always been skeptical, how she used to do sports, and the parents would sit in the stands taking notes of her stats because they felt that the official stats that were being taken were maybe were being a little padded. If that's true, that's really fucking sad. People who are doing that is a sad thing to do. Sit in the stands while your kids are playing whatever sport, and you have your little notepad, and you're checking out this one girl on the other team and making sure that her stats balance out with the official time scorekeeper, whatever that. Come on. Honestly, that's really, really fucking sad. And then she recaps her history with Aldis when Aldis called her in 2018 for his match against Cody Rhodes, so that she could basically cancel Brandy out. And boy, oh boy, did she cancel Brandy out. She says that she's here to end the talking backstage, the whispers. I'm here to end all of you, is what she says. And it was a very well-produced segment. Lots of footage from said athletic competitions, like when she played arena football as well. I dug it. I thought it was real good. She looks the part. She has that icy cold glare. I like Kamille a great deal. I think she has a lot of great natural attributes. I think she, so far, looks great in the ring. She has a great character. Like I said, NWA's doing a good job booking her. Why wouldn't I get into it? And she's talented. I can 100% get behind that. We get a recap of Aaron Stevens, the North American champion, NWA North American champion, beating the shit out of Trevor Murdoch at those back elbows. And then Stevens trying to get a match with the Rock and Roll Express and asking them to basically trading an opportunity for them in one of his movies if they lay down for him in the ring and allow them to get a chance to challenge for the NWA Tag Team Champions. When I say they, I mean he and the question mark, his sensei, of course. That brings the Rock and Roll Express out to talk to Sean Mooney. Ricky Morton puts over the Crockett Cup, saying they're ready to fight whoever. But that actually leads us into the match with the Rock and Roll Express versus the question mark and Aaron Shooter Stevens. The question mark and Morton start off, and question mark palms Morton down. However, Morton dodges a jumping elbow drop by Aaron Stevens. Stevens gets ping-ponged between the Rock and Roll Express, but then he takes control back with an eye rake, and Ricky Morton is your Ricky Morton for the rest of this match as Robert Gibson did shit. And we understand why, because Robert Gibson is in no shape. Then comes Trevor Murdoch comes out to sort of like even the score. He still has issues with Aaron Stevens, right? And I love when Trevor Murdoch came out. He's got his ball cap on. He's got a very casual, comfy t-shirt. He's in jeans. He looks like he's ready to go on a Costco run. Then Stevens grabs the microphone, takes very much offense to the fact that Trevor Murdoch is out here, so he says, I have my own insurance policy, and he calls out question mark Jr., who is clearly Milanis from the Bouncers tag team under a question mark mask. I mean, clearly, like, it's a huge guy. It's a really, really big guy. So he comes out to sort of even the score. Murdoch sort of chases him off a few steps, and then question mark Jr. sort of collapses against the ring because he's exhausted, he's winded, needs to work on his cardio. And meanwhile, that allows the Rock and Roll Express to push Stevens down for a surprise pin and win the match. This was what it was. It was okay. I mean, I appreciate the legacy of the Rock and Roll Express as much as anyone. I think there's still something very strange about them still wrestling in 2020 on a regular basis and being established as a credible, as a real credible threat, I guess, competitive threat. Because in quite honesty, Ricky Morton, out of the two, Ricky Morton's the only two who can still go. I remember one of the last matches I had seen with Robert Gibson, and I'm trying to remember which one. I can't quite, but it was an NWA show. Robert Gibson could not stand back up after hitting the mat or going on his knees without hanging on to something. It's very, very rough. Very, very rough to see the Rock and Roll Express in this type of situation. And this isn't one of, and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful manner. It's not a question of me sitting here saying, Rock and Roll Express are too old, they should leave the young guys do it. No, what I'm saying is the Rock and Roll Express have done everything they needed to do. And they are bona fide legends, bona fide Hall of Famers, regardless of what Hall of Fame you're talking about. If you have a Hall of Fame and you don't have the Rock and Roll Express in it, what the hell are you doing with your life? My point is that I don't want to see them broken down trying to do matches. That breaks my heart. I have the exact same feeling when I watch The Undertaker. It's the exact same thing. I know how much they're hurting. I know how much they're in pain. In the Rock and Roll Express's case, Robert Gibson mostly, and it's uncomfortable. It's just it breaks my heart to see that. I don't want these legends to do that to themselves. It makes me sad. But in this match here, Gibson didn't do much, that's for sure. And it wasn't all that physical a match. Regardless, it was lots of comedy spots. And you know what? As far as a comedy match goes, this was fine. But we've seen better. It was okay. It was all right. They recap the women's feud between Melina, Thunder Rosa, Allison Kay, and Kamille, how that's all intertwined. Then Kyle Davis chats with Melina. And here's the thing. Who was telling me recently that they got like a dozen announcers. I'm exaggerating. But we were talking about AEW. It's like AEW has all these announcers. They don't know what to do with them. They say, like, Chris Van Vliet at some point he's supposed to be there. He's not there anymore. Then they have Dave Marquez and Excalibur and Golden Boy and Tony Schiavone. And then they have the backstage. We have Dave Marquez on this show, which is a much smaller production just for these interview segments. You have Dave Marquez, you have Kyle Davis, you have Sean Mooney, and then even sometimes Joe Gali gets to do some. I think they're a little top heavy when it comes to interviewers in the NWA, but that's just me. But hey, that's a nitpick because they all rule. They're all very good at what they do. So Kyle Davis is there, and he's chatting with Melina, who puts over the fact that puts over the idea of why she should be picked to fight Thunder Rosa at the Crockett Cup. She says first and foremost that she deserves a fair and just fight. Says Allison Kay shouldn't get one because Allison Kay not only lost the title to Thunder Rosa but lost at her rematch as well. She says it's disgusting that she should get another chance. Allison Kay then comes out. She talks about losing at Hard Times fair and square. And by the way, one of the best matches of the year so far, and I'm going to try and hammer this one home. When I saw Allison Kay come out and start talking about it, I was like, hell yeah, that match ruled. It was the best match of the pay-per-view and really one of the best matches of the year, bar none. It was real good stuff. So Thunder Rosa then comes out and she says, you know what, AK, I beat you twice. And, she was bothered that Melina came out, came out with I'm drawing a blank. Marty Bell. When she came out with Marty Bell to do shenanigans during her match and, I'm not going to lay down for you and all that stuff. Basically, this would have all set up a triple threat match at the Crockett Cup. Thunder Rosa defending her title against Allison Kay and Melina. So that's something that we're not going to get. But it was still fun, still cool to see. Allison Kay, very, very good with her promo work. She's very, very good. Next, we recap the Mama Storm stuff where Danny Deals was dressing up as Mama Storm to sort of get into the head of Tim Storm. And as you recall, I didn't quite care for it. I didn't think it was all that entertaining. It was a little dragged out and not quite well done. But this was all to set up a match with Jax Dane, who dropped the title to Tim Storm. And Jax Dane Former world heavyweight champion in the NWA. He's also wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling with Rob Conway. They had a tag team. Did quite a few world tag leagues. I think like between 2012, 2013 to maybe 2016-ish, something like that. He's also wrestled in Ring of Honor and in Impact Wrestling as well under the name Wilcox. But here he's here tonight to fight Tim Storm, and if Tim Storm defeats Jax Dane, former World Heavyweights champion, Tim Storm gets 5 minutes alone in the ring with Danny Deals to sort of show Danny Deals, you don't mess with Mama Storm. You don't mess with the good Storm name, Danny Deals, you chubby little son of a bitch. That's not what he said. That's me ad-libbing. Anyway, so Tim Storm gets ambushed by Dax, who just not Dax. Dax is in a video game. Jax Dane. It's not even it's Jackson Dexter. God damn. I'm getting old. I can't even remember video games anymore. Anyway, they start fighting on the outside. Dane gets into the ring with them. Eventually hits a belly to back overhead suplex on Storm. Storm gets him back to the outside, throws him into the stairs. They brawl into the audience, and they're just slugging it out. Dane is bleeding hard way. Weird spot where Storm starts ramming Jax's head into the Crockett Cup. Now, this is a trophy that's just like on a pedestal and kind of loose, right? A little loosey-goosey. So when he hits it, when he hits when you ram someone's head, well, it won't hurt that much because the cup is going to go flying, but the referee's holding it. Then he rams it and then he does it a second time. It was an odd spot. I didn't quite get it. They get back into the ring where they trade some vicious open hand chops. My God. No, they weren't even in the ring. They were on the outside of the ring. Excuse me. But they're just slapping each other. Oh boy. Dane fires back with a belly to belly on the floor. Gets into the ring. Gets a chair. Sets it up in the corner between two turnbuckles. Storm gets back in the ring. Has Dane eat a big boot. Dane picks Storm up into it, and Samoan drops him. He calls it the Dane event. But can't quite get the pin. Dane runs head first into the chair. That leads into the perfect storm. And Tim Storm gets the win. I think it's a good idea that Tim Storm got the win here. As popular as a babyface as he is with the NWA crowd, he hadn't been landing many big wins or any wins, really. So I think it's a good idea that your boy Tim Storm does this here. But this means that he gets his 5 minutes with Danny Deals, who, of course, tries to squirm out of it because he's a weasel. Referee won't let him leave, so Deals eventually gets into the ring, dresses up as Mama Storm again, because he thought that maybe Tim Storm would go easy on him, when in reality it just pisses him off. That's fun. And so, of course, Tim Storm beats him up, hits two perfect storms on him. Crowd goes wild. Don't mess with Mama Storm. I'm going to tell you, I won't get into business with Danny Deals. I'm not sure he understands his... I think there's some elements here that don't make him a very shrewd businessman. That wasn't a very good decision. We get another one of May Valentine's vlogs where she recaps the events that happened between her and Saul Renaro, who is her best friend, and Royce Isaacs, who is very, very jealous. And she says that she doesn't know how to deal with it. She says she needs to speak to Royce because she hates this extreme jealousy he has. Renaro is just her best friend. That's all they are, And she says she's pure. and loyal to Royce, and she's telling all the haters to stop DMing her, and she should stay loyal to her. Stop writing her, haters. And the whole incident cost her 100 followers. 100 followers. The drama got her. It just sliced. Now, where? On Twitter? Instagram? Facebook? We don't know. Maybe it's a combination of all three social Snapchat? TikTok? Does she have a TikTok? What about Omegle? Or Friendster? And then she says, I'm starting to get emotional. I gotta stop it. Okay. I've talked about them before. You can right? We've talked about May Valentine's vlogs before. And JS Brown in the chat says an OnlyFans. No, I don't know what you maybe. I don't think these vlogs. I see what they're trying to do, and you know, they're trying to tap into that youth. You know, those people, right? That those youth kids that like the social media so much. I know what they're trying to do. They want to tap into that. They want to try some stuff out, and I'm all for trying out some concepts. But I don't think this calls to May's strengths. I really don't. And again, I remember saying this, I think at the first one they did. She doesn't act like what she's doing here. This is called storytime YouTubing. These are storytime YouTubers, and that's what she's doing. She doesn't act like one, you know, or it's not filmed like it. You know, the camera angle's a little higher, much better lit. She's talking directly into the camera. There's a much more of a close-up, a little more animated. She's very poised. I think if she tried being more natural and a little less scripted, I think it would come across better, because she does come across as a little scripted, which is weird because most of what happens in NWA, it feels very off the cuff. So the fact that this feels a little more produced is it comes off as a little strange. It comes off a little the tone, there's a rupture in tone here again. But honestly, I don't think it plays into her strengths. I don't. One of the reasons why, you know, a YouTuber works is when he or she is telling stories, is because they're very charismatic, they're very animated, and they're talking directly to the audience, and she's reciting lines. It doesn't feel natural, and there's the jump cuts. YouTubers are full of jump cuts. You know, they'll be talking, and then mid sentence there'll be a jump cut because they edited their video together so that they can take out as much hesitations, and kind of like if you were to take a MrWarrenHayes show and cut out all the hesitations and stutterings, you could probably take away like 20 minutes of the show there alone. But I see what they're trying to do. I'm still not sold on them. I'm not quite sure what it's, and to be perfectly honest, is May supposed to be a babyface? Because if the babyface is bitching about losing 100 followers because her boyfriend is so jealous, I'm not, that doesn't speak to me. I'm like, wow, that's very petty. You're you hate that your boyfriend is jealous of your best friend because it cost you 100 followers on social media. Lady, your priorities are not in the right place. Yeah. And it's okay if she's a heel, but if they want her to be a babyface, I don't think it's a good way to go. A good way to go was Marty Bell versus Tasha Steelz versus Ashley Vox. 3 very talented women. I was excited for this match. And it was a fine match. It was very, very good. Steele and Vox shake their hand for fair competition, the spirit of sport. But Marty Bell don't want none of that. In fact, Tasha Steele says, you don't want none of that smoke, little girl. Wow. There's a lot of smoke to pass around, apparently, in wrestling, so that sounded weird. Steele, I'm not implying that everyone takes drugs, is what I'm saying here. Steele hits some shoulder blocks early on. Bell hip attacks both women in each corner. Then she goes for the Three Amigos, Eddie Guerrero, Three Amigos, but Vox blocks the third from happening, and instead Bell hits a side Russian leg sweep on Steele's. Bell strikes both women at the same time until Vox hits back with a headbutt. Steele eats a forearm and a missile drop kick by Vox in a nice little sequence there. Bell finally hits a flatliner on Vox, but eats a code breaker by Tasha Steele, who gets the pin. It was good stuff. Good little match. And again, doing good by their women. That's their mid card. That's all the women who aren't involved in the main event. Give them a time just to go out there and wrestle. Marty Bell, MVP of the match. She was fighting off both Steele and Vox at some point and was looking great. Sorely underrated talent is Marty Bell. I do declare. Steele and Vox are fantastic as well, don't get me wrong, but I think Marty Bell is she's something special. A lot of people sleeping on her. You won't be able to keep her down too long, I can tell you that much. We get a recap of the Eddie Kingston and Pope feud, and Kingston comes out accompanied by James Storm and Eli Drake, and look, I mean, this was your classic angry wrestler shouting at the camera promo, and it was good. It was real good. Eddie Kingston is as the kids say, he gives zero fucks. We know he's a guy who has a lot of personal turmoil. He's openly struggled with mental issues. He said it himself. I have a lot of stuff going on during the promo, and he says, just give me a minute here to he tells the audience, give me a second so I can collect my thoughts here. I'm sorry, guys, but show me some respect. And he thanks the audience. And I mean, this is a guy, he comes out, and every time Eddie Kingston cuts a promo, he acts, he has his heart on his sleeve. I've said it before, this is one of the most authentic and true promo guys in the business, because this is a guy who always speaks from a place of reality. And it comes across as such every single time. I thought he was a little more, very good, but a little more low-key than he usually is. Otherwise, Drake and Storm just go nuts, have a great promos, both of them, especially Eli Drake. Eli is such a good talker, by God. Charismatic. I mean, you got to get this guy. This guy is a future world champion. You just cannot not put the main belt on this guy. He's too good. And the audience, he's super over. Everyone's over here regardless in this promo. Good stuff. It was good, well done, passionate, typical passion from your NWA fellas. Main event time. Nick Aldis and Thom Latmier versus Marty Scurll and Brody King. After some posturing between Aldis and Scurll to begin with, finally Latmier and King start fighting. Two big guys doing big guy things in the ring. King gets a nasty chop in. They do a lot of strong offense, and then there's a fun little moment here where I think it's Brody King who bounces off the ropes, who whips himself into the ropes, and Nick Aldis lifts a knee while the referee is distracted. And, everyone's like, oh my God. And And Marty Scurll's on the other side of the ring. He's going, oh my God, oh my God. So then they do the same thing. So Marty Scurll gives a knee strike as Thom Latmier is bouncing off the ropes while he's not the legal man. And the referee's like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Oh God, I'm so sorry. So Marty Scurll gets into the ring, and the referee's saying, if you do this again, you're going to get disqualified. And Marty Scurll says, tell that to that guy, pointing to Brody King. So the ref starts talking to Brody King, and Brody King's like, oh yeah, talk to me. And while the ref's back is turned, Marty Scurll starts fighting Latmier again, hits the ropes, but as he hits the ropes, he just lifts his hand over his head and he slaps his hands and he goes, ah! And then the referee turns around to see that Marty Scurll is feigning having got a knee strike from Nick Aldis, who was on the apron, not the legal man. And Aldis is like, hey, I didn't do anything. Fun spot there. Fun little spot. Very villain-like. It was good stuff. But Scurll hits a nice side kick to the side of Latmier's head, who is on the floor. But Latmier posts Marty Scurll, and then Aldis gets into the match, and Scurll is here. Babyface in peril for the match. There are some cheating shenanigans from the heels, of course. They also hit a combination atomic drop, running boot, and elbow drop by Latmier and Aldis, which was really good. But Scurll fights back with a suplex, gets the hot tag to Brody King, who does some running lariats on each corner on both of the heels, and then Villain Enterprises do a combination clothesline kick to the back of the head. A great assisted German suplex by the babyfaces as well. Good old-fashioned pile driver by Brody King, who covers, but the pin is broken up. And we're seeing, folks, a revival of the pile driver. And we're even seeing it in NWA, right? Not a tombstone. Good old-fashioned, belly to the outside, pile driver. And every time you see them these days, when they're in tag team matches, the other guy comes in to break up the pin. So the pile driver is still very much considered a strong move, something that you could end a match with. And that's what happened here again. So I'm like, I like this. Not only more pile drivers coming in, but they're being treated seriously as a very, very strong, potentially match-ending moves. I like it. The Marty Scurll's finger breaker attempt is distracted by Kamille. And then his umbrella comes into play. Royce Isaac comes out. He eats the umbrella across the side of the head. Scurll then dives onto Royce Isaacs onto the outside. I don't know why he has a match going, but okay, starts brawling with him. But okay, there's a match going on inside though. In the meantime, Brody King hits a lariat and sets up for a razor's edge, but instead eats a low blow by your boy Thom Latmier, and Aldis hits the elbow drop and gets the pin on Brody King. Strictly business. Strictly the winners tonight. This is a good match. I liked it. It was a fun match. Good, really, really strong main event. But that's what happens when you have lots of talented people in the ring like that. Nice continuation of the Villain Enterprises, strictly business feud. I like that this set up nicely. Scurll versus Aldis for Crockett Cup. Again, we're going to get this at some point once things start to open up, of course. But this was good. And I'm not going to lie. It really felt nice to see some wrestling, something new, with a screaming crowd that was into it. It was fun. I liked it. It was good. As far as they hyped this as a super card, so on and so forth. It was fine. Definitely not everything clicked. Not everything worked. I thought the triple threat match between the women was great. The main event was great. The Kamille stuff was very, very good. But yeah, Nothing offensive. Nothing that I'd call outright trash. It was a fine show. It was a fine show. And to top it all off, William Patrick Corgan comes back to announce that next week they are debuting a new show called Carneyland. I think it's a missed opportunity to have called it Kizarnyland, but that's just me. That's one of the reasons why I don't work on NWA Creative. My ideas stink, apparently. But yeah, he didn't explain what it was. He said, we're debuting this next week. You know, considering that we're not going to fold the NWA, we worked too hard to get where we are. But in the circumstance, you know, we're going to try and do this. He says, look, you're just going to have to tune in. This is going to be too hard to explain. I'm like, okay. I'll be checking it out. I have no idea what this... There'll probably be some attempt to explain what it is. Right? There's going to be some kind of way. There's going to be something they're going to try and do to explain this, right? Sure. I hope. Anyway, there you go. Superpower, NWA Superpower recap tonight. Was good to talk about the NWA again. I miss talking about the NWA. Not that I don't like WWE, not that I don't like AEW. Just feels good to talk about something else. That's why there's alternatives, folks. That we don't always have to speak about the same things all the time. We're going to wrap this one up here on my end. If you're watching this live right now, such as Throwback and JS Brown are right now, I want to thank you very much for watching here on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes live on Tuesday. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, thank you as well. Whether it's on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, do consider leaving a thumbs up on the video, and be sure to come back tomorrow evening right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. So for the recording of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, the weekly show where I recap the week in professional wrestling. You don't want to miss that. 9 p.m. Eastern, great chat room. Everyone's here. youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Make sure you get there, folks. I want to thank you all for joining me today, this evening, or whenever. And I'll see you next time.